So let's get into the music. In this section, what we're going to do is I have gone and found proven examples of high retention music on YouTube that checks every single box. And I wish I had this when I was starting. This is going to be, my opinion, like well worth the value of the course just in this section. What I did is I went and found music that checked all the boxes, and they all have millions or hundreds of thousands of views and have sold very well. It's from other people's channels as well as my own. And if it's my own, I have like the perfect remix where I'm going to show you, like, I'm going to give you guys a peek behind the curtain in this entire section, and like there's going to be no mystery left. I think it's going to be pretty like mind-blowing of like it's right there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over the overall big picture from an arrangement standpoint, why it works on YouTube, go into the thought process behind everything, and we'll do that from like a bird's eye view, kind of like an overview, and then we'll dial in. And I made these perfect remakes, like near perfect remakes, where I am going to show you every single little detail. And not only that, I'm going to give you guys the project files and like the stems for each one so you guys can study it yourself. We're going to go through a breakdown together for each idea. I've chosen 4 high performing ideas on YouTube from a view standpoint and a sales standpoint. In the drum kits that I'm going to include all the drum sounds and effects that you guys can literally just take from these and put it into your own music and apply it in the ways that we're going to learn here. So I'm really excited for this section. I think it's going to be insanely valuable. So you're going to be knowing exactly where these top producers get their sounds, their thought process behind everything. And it's more simple than you think, which is great. So here's a classic YouTube beat, almost 1 million views, 17,000 likes. Shout out to Producer X. And I'll be doing these breakdowns for other people's, and I have some of my own, so I'm showing you guys everything. So we'll just do a listen through right here, and then we're gonna go back and I'm gonna show you how everything works and the thought process behind everything. So remember, we're gonna do 4 beats like this. So the 4th one's a little different, but yeah, we'll get to there. See, this is why I was gonna have you just listen, but I'm gonna comment. This is why it's high retention music. We're still hooked. Minute 15 in. Re-snaps our attention. Especially if you're a rapper. So, a lot of people, their peak watch time is 1:15. And, yeah, their peak watch time's 1:15. That's where he drops. So, he's probably at least getting them here. And realistically, your average person... Okay, switch up again. Average person is at least probably getting to here, which is like, how could you compete with that with a simple piano loop? You can't, not on YouTube. And unique moments like that, that's like, yeah. This is probably, right now, I feel like where someone who's like somewhat interested might dip. But a good chunk of people are going to be, a good percentage of people are going to be locked in this whole time. So So in my breakdown, I leave out some of the ear candy and effects. Like, you can kind of do that kind of stuff on your own. But for the core of it, I have everything, and you'll be able to see it all. See how this was like an experience. I don't know if maybe it depends on your taste, but for me, this is like a full on like. I was never bored. Like that flew by. That was so interesting. So yeah, this is a phenomenal beat. Super great example of high retention music. It's why Producer X is doing so good right now, because he gets it. So let's do one more listen, but I'm going to be like rapid firing each element and what is going on, because as we'll get into later and you can see down here, I redid it. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. So we have a choir. I believe it's from Omnisphere. Simple pop chords. Like, he's not getting fancy. Don't overthink the chords here. It's pop music. So and it's big cinematic. It's in the sound selection. So this is 15 seconds. You can see the duration when I highlight it. The key to doing this high retention music and having it evolve is it's like you almost go simple, allow for more evolution, because a lot of people, like, a lot of producers, like, they get impatient. They want to give you everything at once. You can take each piece and like strategically give it to them piece by piece and really have it evolve. So, and that's how you keep people hooked. I think you'll see that as a theme as we go through all of these, is they don't give you everything at once. Like, they build it up. Maybe you create this big build up section. Then I've heard Kanye say this about Rick Rubin. He's not a producer. He's a reducer. You now reduce it to the simplest sections and have it gradually evolve. You'll see as I get into the breakdown, and I'm going to show you guys where these sounds come from, which is so crazy. Like, I almost feel like it's like I'm showing you guys everything, and I'm doing it on my own stuff as well. I'm not gatekeeping a thing here. Like, if you guys paid for this, you guys deserve all this info. And I think that's like extremely rare in the producer community, that people will openly share things because they want to keep this like mystique or like this brand of like, oh, I'm so interesting. That's kind of a side note. So people rarely give you the real sauce because it's like so simple. So yeah, let's see. So take that choir. You still have that choir if you listen closely, but now you have an organ, and now you have a Moog synth bass, like very Mike Dean, Kanye. There's a video of Mike Dean showing off like how he does the Moog bass. He says he uses it on every Kanye one, and it's like it's the Kanye bass at this point. He has the samples come in, which are actually from Splice. So I think as we go through them and they come in, I'll just show you real quick. Pull up that one and that one. So there it is. No key change, nothing. And it's even like it's this. I have a rule, like when I'm breaking stuff down, it's always simpler than you think. When you're learning how someone did something, yeah, it's always simpler. So all he does is literally just loop like that. So that's one of the samples, and then the next sample that in the next section he puts this on top is right here. Keep me from all evil. Lord, would you keep me as I travel down this road? Lord, keep me from all evil. Lord, keep me as I travel down this road. I'll have to pull up the file again to know exactly how he does it. He's pretty smart. He takes one of the things at the end and then puts it at the beginning as like an intro to kind of be less loopy, if that makes sense. Like less like standard loop and more of like evolving. Almost think of it like storytelling, and you can like build up, and it's like contrast. It's all about contrast. It's all about flowing into the next one. It's like a roller coaster. Like if a roller coaster was like going flat the whole time or even just dropping the whole time, it'd be like, all right, I get bored. It's like the drops are only exciting because of the buildups and stuff like that. So that's a good way to think about it. Now we'll go into like, now you hear that loop. He brought in an organ that has like the rotor cabinet like going slow, which I'll show you that. And then right here. That's what I wanted to point out earlier. Is like that cool section right there. Let's highlight it. the bass, like, I think he had low frequencies cut out right here, so you could feel the bottom end, but it wasn't like so deep. And then right here, when the vocal comes in, it just like emphasizes that moment. It's very, this one's very cinematic. I think of it almost more of like a movie director than a producer, and it's really cool. And this stuff works. Like, you can take these same techniques and apply it into your stuff, and it's very effective of like, how do I have contrast? How do I make this moment extra special? How do I build up this? Like, I could have this by itself, but how do I create more impact into this moment? Can I have a pre-build before? Can I take out less stuff? Maybe I have like the piano an octave up and then it drops in and now it's even like stronger. It's like there's so many ways that you can do that, but this is like what leads to like high retention music.
Keep me from all evil. Lord, keep me as I travel down this road.
So just that intro, yeah, I mean, 45 seconds, and none of it was boring. That's the thing. You can even see in the audio files, like, little more, little more, little more. And I always recommend, a lot of producers, like when they listen, they get caught up in like the little details. Like, I think the first thing that a lot of people's ears go to is like the drums. It's like, oh, what drum sounds are they using? And I'm going to show you that, but it's not as important as this stuff. This like big zoomed out perspective. Now, if you have those drums right, you can intensify those moments. But if you don't have those moments in the first place and it's just like a flat line the whole time as far as like emotion, it doesn't matter how good your drums are. Like, this stuff is way more important. So I recommend like doing this, and I'll show you how like my process of breaking stuff down and learning about it as well. So I mean, that's a crazy switch up. And so it sounds insane. You're probably like, the first time I hear it, I'm like mind blown. Like, how did he do that? Like, what synth did he use? And then you go and find out as you dig into things. Here's the thing is, as you just saw there, the rule, everything is simpler than you think it is. And that is always the case. There's almost no one. People, and not producer X, producers, like I'm talking like producers that are all over Instagram and constantly doing interviews and stuff like that. They're trying to make it seem like they do everything and everything comes from them and they try to take credit for so much stuff. And it's just not the case ever. People are like working together. It's just like, this is the truth of it. I mean, you could look at someone like Mike Dean, he's doing a lot, but even his stuff like is surprisingly simple, just phenomenal sound. So that's kind of what I think here. So there's a lot of cool things. So like what makes this section more intense is, one, the contrast from going to like those pop chords, and there are some minor chords and there are a lot of minor chords, and those cinematic, like I call it like an orchestral progression. We'll look at it once I show you the MIDI. And then it's like that switch up from that to just a straight minor suspended chord arp which is like all the arps are like that. So almost all of them for this like trap style. Yeah, that like, it's just the contrast, and then it's like so much just changed. So we went from a full progression to us hanging out on a single chord. We went from an evolving bass line following it to now the bass line just stays. We have this massive choir cutout. It's like, that is so dramatic, that shift. It's like you're going for drama. Don't be cheesy. You might be cheesy at first, but then you learn how to not be cheesy pretty quick. So you may take some L's on like going overboard with the drama, but just don't go too weird. Just like, there's techniques that work, just model them. That impact too. So the fill, like it's just emphasizing the drama. So the fill, boom, 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 boom. Then that cinematic trailer, that's like a movie trailer. Baseline stayed there, now it changes, but it's a completely different. Now that's a switch up. So it was its own bass, and now the switch up is it brings in this organ. That's another thing that you realize is a lot of it is like, you'll find the clues like they copy and paste from the earlier sections. So I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible too. So don't overthink this. This might be a ton of information at you all at once, but it's really simpler than you think. Like it's like a lot of fairly simple layers working together, being like put in and pulled out to make it this like crazy interesting thing. Like as I'm talking about it, I'm like, I feel like it just like may seem a little complicated. Trust me, if it feels complicated when you're making it, you're doing it wrong. It's like hard work to make it good and simple, but it should always be simple and obvious, made up of clear building blocks that have like a clear goal. That's something I think about a lot. It's just like simple, clear goal, always simpler than you think. It's a bunch of simple parts making something seemingly complex. So organ comes back in. These taiko, I believe they're called taiko drums, but you can also search like orchestral hit on Splice. I'll include some of these. Boom, 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 boom. Arp and the organ and the chord progression from earlier. Same rhythm on the fill. There's something unique about it this time. It's got some sort of reverse reverb thing, but it's boom, 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 boom. Now everything dropped out. He could have done the drop right after this section, but him doing the pre-drop build right here and going back to this progression. What's it? Yeah, he went back to this progression right here. Because, yeah, if he would have kept on that, like, I think they call it a pedal note, which is like this section where it just hangs out on the same. It's, even that bass line, like the arp is staying in the same chord, so it's like it's kind of making a new chord out of the arp each note it changes, and then yeah, it goes back to the more like pop harmony as far as those chords coming in, and then it drops out of like right here, it completely drops out of harmony. It's just like the most simple trap beat, which the contrast from like the musical part to just like in your face aggressiveness is. Like, this is just such a phenomenal example of high retention music. That's also relevant today, because, like, Future would rap over this. Kanye would rap over it. It could be anyone. So that's the first moment that it comes in with a new bass line, so that we have not heard that before. Boom, 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 boom. Especially at that pace, because like some of the other, it'd be like 2 bars, and this one's 1 bar. It changes every 1 bar. Changes. So it's like double speed or double time and different notes. And then these moments are important. Like going from so much, like all this trap stuff and then like deep bass line to silence. Like look at that contrast. You can just see the contrast in the audio file of like, how can you logically put in moments like this? This is like kind of the questions you want to be asking yourself. This section is like crazy hard. It's gonna hit like no matter what. Like that 808 and that arp, like the arp is aggressive and that 808 smack. But this right here builds it up, so it's like the roller coaster. It's like the drop is even more because of the build up. It's just a reverse 808. It's literally, I mean, you can see the file of like that. But yeah, so now these are going to be like roughly the same. It's like the rapping verse. This is the first time. So how deep are we? We are at 2 minutes and this is the first time anything's repeated. That's the thing, is like there's always something new rehooking you of like, oh, I've heard this. Oh, this is a different section. And it's like, how do you strategically do that? And you might like, maybe he started with this and he's like, okay, what can I add to it? Or maybe he started with this and he threw all those pieces. He's like, okay, well, let me remove this part. Let me remove the lead for here. And then maybe let's just start with that choir on an intro. And then maybe just have the bass come in. So it's like strategically broke it down to have it like the buildups. And a lot of people, you might make the craziest part and then you try to make it even crazier. It's like, why don't you maybe go the opposite way of like make the crazy part and then reduce it for the rest of it to make that the craziest part. And that's usually a more effective strategy, I've learned, than trying to make every part crazier than the next. It's like subtract and then makes parts simple and catchy and hooky. And then, yeah. So yeah, this section is like one of the few that's just like, okay, yeah, we've heard it before. So literally copy and paste. Like you could boom. You can literally see, watch, boom, same. There's like one small difference. It's that double kick. That's literally the only, there is a difference. You can see that. So where is it? Right there. That's the only difference. And so yeah, where is it? Okay, so this is like original, and then this is like the copy of that first verse. So there we go. So literally, where is it? Boom. Literally only difference. That one detail is probably so small. It's really dope that he focuses on details like that, but that detail is probably so small that like it would have zero impact on the performance. But I think it's dope that he did it. I think we've heard that. Oh no. So the difference with this is the low end is cut out of that Moog bass. Like it's probably missing that like area, and you can feel it. It's like missing the sub, but when that sub comes in, let's see if it does right here. I think the sub comes in right here then. Yeah, you can hear it like sits a little lower. Like this section right here. Yeah, it just. Like this, the way this one's set up, it's almost like an album intro. I'm sure a million artists, not really a million, but thousands of artists have used this for an album intro. Because it feels like it's the end of like the first scene, but things are just getting started. Bringing that vocal back right there. You may even be able to copy and paste this part over. Oh no, you couldn't because of the ARP. That's the breakdown from like a more detailed breakdown. Now let's get into the remake. So